So, a couple of days ago, Hasbro Pulse had their big fan stream showing off and revealing all the new 2026 Age of the Primes, or at least a lot of them, and Studio Series Transformer figures. We're going to talk about each one. I'm going to let you know my thoughts. We're also going to cover our poll results, and I'll announce the giveaway winner coming up right now on Transformers Talk Raw. So I know everybody and their mama's already talked about this stuff, but I'm going to cover these things anyway, let you know my thoughts in case you were curious. But we're going to start out right out the gate, guys. Thanks for tuning in, listening to the Transformers Talk Raw podcast. I'm your host, Matt. If you haven't heard, you can click all those great links in the description below. That includes our Facebook group. We'd love to see you guys. Come over there, share your own channels or pages. Join us as we talk all things Transformers. You can also help support the show further if you'd like, besides just coming in, listening, giving us a thumbs up, which I really appreciate, guys. You know, for some reason, I don't know why, in the past month or so, views have been at an all-time low. You know, it's to average about 600 views a show, and now we're down to 100. And maybe that's because I can't relate to the community. I don't know why that is, but I make a show that I would listen to. I would listen to Transformers Talk Raw. It's not too long. It covers viable, important subjects. And, I think I got a good show. But if it's not for you, it's not for you. I'm not blaming that. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys coming in and listening. I'm not deterred either way. If I have a dozen guys, and I've always said this, if I have just a dozen that regularly listen, and I got about 3 or 4 dozen that do regularly listen, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it, I'm going to keep going no matter what. But let's go in and talk about this stuff, and I know everybody's already gone over this and seen these pictures, but I'm going to let you know what I think. And it's a mixed bag, guys. You know, a lot of people are all positives and sunshine and rainbow, and they want every new release no matter what. I'm not one of those guys. I never understood this incessant need to acquire a new version of a character simply because it's newer. Is it a better figure in a ways that justifies the cost you're paying of repurchasing a version of that character? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it just isn't. And in the past and on this show, I've talked about and stated examples both ways. There's sometimes that just the older versions are superior. But this is what I think, and this is the Age of the Primes reveals. We're going to start out, and it's the usual 3 guys, the designers, Evan, and the others. And at the end of the day, guys, these guys might be fans. They might be designers, but they're also salesmen, and they're trying to sell us figures. They're using verbiage and terminology to help sell figures. They might say, oh, something has all new tooling, or something has this feature. But it's all meant to encourage us to drop a previously released version of a character in favor of a new one. And I think that some fans fail to understand that sometimes. But I digress. Here are the new deluxes for Age of the Primes being released in 2026. And I do believe pre-orders for some of these, if not all of these, are already up. But it's going to be a while till we actually see them. If they are, I'm not sure about it, because I don't do pre-orders unless something is an absolute must-have. And the first one in Age of the Primes Deluxe is a must-have to me, and that's Sure Shot. This is a previously canceled figure that is finally getting released, and he sure needs it, because we do need an updated version of this character. I don't believe he's had one, not the G1 Sure Shot, since G1 itself. So this is much needed, and I think it looks fantastic. Must-have, in my opinion. I love both modes. People complain. I don't know if the Target Master is going to have articulation, but it didn't originally had articulation. Give it some good paint apps, and I'm fine with it not having articulation. Again, a lot of people don't like that. I'm fine with it. But that's just me. Love the look of Sure Shot. We also have Blast Off coming up in Age of the Primes, and this is another must-have to complete Bruticus. And I think Bruticus was needed, a new version of Bruticus. And while I love Combiner Wars, and I think Combiner Wars gets a lot of hate, guys, to be honest with you. It gave us some great figures, new way of doing things that we hadn't seen for a long time, and it was needed. So I like Combiner Wars, and it holds a special place in my heart. But we did need a new Bruticus, because that one was kind of lacking. Specifically Blast Off, as his regular release wasn't even a space shuttle, he was a jet. So this one really fixes that in a large way, and he looks fantastic. But we also have the Junkion Jalopy, and of course we've seen this mold a couple times before. He looks good for what it is. He's not a must-have in any stretch of the imagination in my mind. I will personally be skipping this figure, but he doesn't look bad. So if you're excited for him, hey, that's something to look forward to. But we do have Quick Strike, which is a classic Beast Wars Fuser character and hasn't received an update since that original release, I don't believe, and he looks fantastic. And I really, he's not a must-have for me, but he'd be really something I'd like to get a hold of. He does look great. But we also have Quintus Prime, and of course, not a fan of the 13 in concept. I don't care about this character. I don't care about this figure. It looks like some kind of crossbreed between a Transformer and a Quintesson, a squid in its alt mode. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. It looks like a Power Ranger villain to me more than a Transformer. But if you're excited for it, there it is. Moving on to the Voyagers, of course, we have the must-have, that is Brawl. And this one was a big drawback and a detriment to that old Combiner Wars set featuring the Combaticons. Brawl is a vast improvement. Presumably doesn't have the design issues the original Combiner Wars one had, and he looks fantastic in both modes. And I think they're going more for screen accuracy than original G1 toy accuracy, especially in this case. If you look at Brawl's chest, it's nothing like his toy version, but he wasn't in the show either. So I think that this looks really good, and he's a must-have. We also have animated Rekgar, and a lot of people, this one's receiving some mixed views on, because they're reusing that bulkhead mold, and that mold we've seen a few times before. But I don't have a problem with this. The head looks great. The paint apps look great. I think for an animated version of Rekgar, we should have seen this coming. It looks pretty good to me. For what it is, I think it's very acceptable. It's not a must to me whatsoever, but it does look very neat. We also have Amalgamus Prime, and I go back to what I originally stated. I don't care about the 13 in concept. They're not a part of traditional Transformers lore. They weren't really introduced or expanded upon until Dreamwave got to them. They weren't a part of the G1 Sunbow or Marvel continuity originally, and they're not a part of traditional Transformers history. Now, that doesn't have to mean something to you, but it does mean something to me. So I'm really not, I'm fine with it. I think it looks neat. It looks more like a Zoid to me or something, or some kind of Robotech figure than it does a Transformer. I don't care about the character, but it does look like a neat figure, at least a hell of a lot better than Quintus. But moving on to the leader classes, of course, we have Big Convoy, and I love the detail here. I love the callback to the original Big Convoy that was a Japanese release for Beast Wars. It was either Beast Wars the Second or Beast Wars Neo, but it looks fantastic. I love the detail and the textures used here. This one, I might be tempted to pick up. We also have Universe Razor Claw, which is a throwback to the original Universe Razor Claw, which was a repaint of the original Beast Wars Tiger Hawk. And this figure looks good for what it is. I could see it just being basically a line filler, but it does look kind of neat. It's not something I'd be interested in picking up, but for some people, I can see the appeal. We also have the Commander class Onslaught, and of course this one was presented just in digital render because they don't even have a prototype yet of it, but he does look fantastic, and I am psyched for this release. And as quick as I passed on the new aerial bots, I very quickly am all in on the new Combaticons. There's certain teams that I'm satisfied with for what we have, and I think the aerial bots and Superion, the Combiner Wars versions, are sufficient. I don't think the new ones are just leaps and bounds better. Now, are they more screen accurate? Absolutely, but not enough for myself to justify that cost. But I digressed. We're going to go over into the Studio Series releases now, and starting off with the deluxes, of course, we have the Transformers 1 Arachnid, and a lot of people know how I feel about Transformers 1, so I'm not going to get into that. But I do acknowledge that many fans love the film and really wanted a version of this character, and now we have it via this release that's coming soon. And it looks pretty close to what we see in the film, in my opinion, and if you're excited for it, well, it'll be coming up real soon. The next one is an absolute must, and that's one that was very needed, and it's been quite some time, I believe, Titan's Return, since we got a Wind Charger, but this one is entirely screen accurate, and of course that's the Studio Series 86 Wind Charger. Weighing in at deluxe class, and I think he looks fantastic in both modes. I don't have a problem with this, and of course, hopefully we get a tailgate out of this mold eventually. But yeah, he looks fantastic. Absolute must-have. Then we have to finalize the Studio Series Deluxe reveals, The Last Night Barricade. And this was one of the original coolest Decepticons in the original 2007 film that carried over into The Last Night. And he looks great for what it is. If you're a fan of that classic Bayverse design, I don't think you can go wrong here. And I see a lot of folks being excited for this release. Moving into the Voyagers, we have the 86 Thundercracker. And, you know, I got into it on Twitter and it got so bad. Okay, I decided to leave the platform of Twitter, guys, altogether, as far as the presence of the podcast. Not because of this specifically, but because of issues like this continually occurring. I just, some of the contention and the arguing, it's just not really helpful. I don't want it to be around it. So I decided just to get away from that platform. I don't see eye to eye with a lot of people on that platform. So it's just not for me. But this figure, and specifically, you know, there was some speculation, at least with myself originally, that it was a direct retool, despite what Evan said and any of the designers stated about this having new tooling. To me, new tooling means that you take the existing dies that were there and you retool them a bit. But, you know, even if it does mean something different, which I acknowledge it could mean something different, I'm not an industry expert and don't pretend you are either. But even if they say something, I don't take it as face value because they've said things in the past before. Evan himself has, again, directly lied to us in the past on record as stating that an Optimus Prime figure would never be a HasLab. Sure enough, Optimus Prime figure was a HasLab. So they've lied to us in the past, these salesmen. Because in the end, what did I say? You know, at the end of the day, these are salesmen trying to sell us figures. So they're going to use different terminologies to try and upsell these figures. Now, whether or not it's all new molds, and let's give you that. Let's say it's all new molds, it's 86 Thundercracker. In the very least, it heavily borrows engineering from the Earthrise mold, which it clearly does. We can see by the transformation joints on the prototype that it borrows the engineering. So if it borrows the engineering, much like the 86 Springer did with the Siege, how much of an improvement could it be over the one beforehand? You're saying, well, this one's more screen accurate. Well, it may be more screen accurate. But from what I recall, every version of Starscream or the Seeker mold in toy form has always had the tail fins on the side of his legs. Okay? This one takes that and puts it on his back. That's not screen accurate, guys. I hate to break it to my accuracy pundits, but nowhere has Starscream ever had his tail fins on his back. At least not to my knowledge. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, in the comments. So there are pros and cons about this. Now, am I on board for this figure? Am I trying to knock this figure? I like the look of this figure. I think it's justified. I don't think it's justified to repurchase all of our Seekers. But if you missed out on Thundercracker and you want this version of the character, I'm all on board, and I'll probably personally pick it up myself. Because the new tooling does look good. But don't pee in my ear and tell me it's raining. You know, does this justify the cost of continually repurchasing the character? Like, how much better of a figure could it be if they had to borrow so much of the older one's engineering? You know, we just got versions of the Earthrise mold. We just got versions of the Siege mold. They just reissued Nacelle. So how much superior can this be? And you're talking about perfect screen accuracy. These guys that have to have the newest versions of the figures, of the characters. They have to have screen accuracy. Well, all those same guys were on board with 86 Devastator. But 86 Devastator is not, in terms of scale, even close to screen accurate. Combiner Wars is much closer if you look at him in comparison, well combined to Optimus Prime. And that can be Earthrise or the 86. So, I mean, I just see a lot of hypocrisy here. That's just my opinion. I don't know. But we also have the Transformers 1 Alpha Trion. He looks good for what he is, and if you're excited for that, I'm all for it. We also have leader classes, The Last Night, Nemesis Prime. And he looks good for what he is, very detailed. If you're a fan of that style, I can see you being in for that. But as far as exclusives go, we know we have the Void Rivals Jetfire set that's coming out. And I see a couple guys on social media, and this is funny to me, actually looking for the Void Rivals Jetfire set without the individual action figures and just the Jetfire. They just want the Jetfire. Which is silly to me because it's a very minor repaint of the Siege Jetfire. And that's what I told them, just get the Siege Jetfire. Well, it's like, well, this one has more animation accurate colors. But does that justify the cost? I don't know. Maybe to some, and if it does to you, get it. But it just doesn't to me. If that's all you're after. And then, of course, we have this Comic-Con exclusive Nemesis Prime and the Star Saber Minicon set. And this set's going to ring in at $75. And, of course, he comes with it. But to me, that's nonsense because this is... What is the Nemesis Prime? I mean, at retail, what would it be? $35? $30? And then you throw in the sword. Is that $75 worth of Transformer here? You can get the original Armada Minicon Star Saber Minicon set for about $65. You know, loose complete, in good shape, on the secondary market. Why would you pay more for a newer version? I don't know. I just... Maybe I'm so old and set in my ways, I just am trouble understanding some of this stuff. But at Titan class, guys, I digress. Let's move on. We have the Age of Extinction Grimlock. And this one threw me for a loop because I didn't expect this. Them to make a Titan out of that figure. But I understand why they did it. But to me, there seems to be some Titans left on the table that they could do. I think they're kind of dragging the bottom of the spillway here. But I know a lot of folks are excited for this. And that's fine. But which of these reveals is your favorite? To me, I'm real excited about the Wind Charger. So I'm not all like, oh, you know, some of these are must-haves to me. Wind Charger, the Combaticons. I am, despite what I stated, I am excited about the 86 Thundercracker. I'm just... slow to say, let's just throw our Seeker collections in the trash. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, all the Seekers are invalid now of what we've been accumulating for years or since 2019. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, even the Siege mold is only like 5 or 6 years old now. I mean, why and how much money do we have invested in it? And is it a bad version of those characters? No. So why are you so quick to give up on what... Hasbro's not even quick to do it because they're still releasing versions with those molds. Recently, I mean, we just got the Devastation 2-pack set with a retool of the Earthrise mold. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Well, let's move on to this week's poll results and announce our giveaway winner. Check out the poll results. Last week we asked the question, which of Blaster's original cassettes was the coolest? And of course that's in an overall general sense. However you take that question, that's how I meant it to be interpreted. Whether that's the toys, whether in design itself, overall. And out of over 100 votes, of course I got 116 at the time of this recording, 44%, which is, you know, not quite half, but a good majority, stated Steeljaw was the coolest of his original cassettes, with Oldie Jet coming in last place at 13. And I kind of agree with that. I'm a Ramhorn guy. I like Ramhorn, but I see the appeal in Steeljaw too. They are the animal guys, were the more interesting ones, for sure. So the fans have spoken, and 44% stated Steeljaw. But let's go ahead and announce our giveaway winner, guys. And of course, that's for the Studio Series B127 Bumblebee. And that's from Transformers 1, shipped and sealed at my expense. And that winner is going to be Neko Daki. And of course, we didn't have too many entries in this one, guys. Of course, our patrons, those few guys, automatically get double the entries. And I think only a couple more guys actually entered. So not many folks wanted this figure. But, you know, for as much people I see that are fans of Transformers 1, it kind of surprised me. But that is our winner. Congratulations to him. We're going to have a new one next month. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm going to get out of here, guys. I'll check you back next week. Let me know what you think of any of this stuff in the comments. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. God bless you, and tell all are one. This podcast is made possible thanks to the support of listeners like you. Thank you.